How have you seen a demon manifest? You look at movies like The Exorcist and you see, her eyes change, her skin changes, the temperature in the room often gets either extremely cold or extremely hot. She levitates. Her voice gets very odd. She does speak in other languages. What have you personally witnessed in terms of manifestation of demons?
I've witnessed all those things.
You've seen someone levitate.
I've seen someone levitate during an exorcism, eyes rolled in the back of the head, foaming at the mouth, growling and snarling. The reason the voice gets deeper is that it's kind of like a wild dog that's barking. It's meant to instill fear. The notion is the louder you are, then maybe you're trying to prove that you're greater than you really are. Mm-hmm. Stenches in the room. No, I always say that when a demon manifests, the stench is about 100 times worse than the raccoon that's been hit on the side of the road that's been baking in the sun for the last 10 days.
Okay, so that is really what he has seen. Levitating. And I love people who say, oh, you can explain all this away by just, mental illness. Really, I don't know anyone mentally ill who levitates. You, Deli? Do you know anyone mentally ill who just levitates? Yeah, I must have missed that. I mean, maybe you do. Levitates. And I mean, there's just some things that are beyond, right? And even if you're unsure of what you believe on this, there's some things that it's just not quite within the realm of the natural. There's something supernatural going on there. So that's what he talks about. Now, I want you to just think about, that is an extreme example of possession, right? Are there less extreme examples of possession? Could possession be that somebody, is full of doubt? Somebody's living kind of a lost, dark life, and somebody is susceptible to evil channeling through them and corrupting other people and, selling drugs and, whatever it may be. Is that possible, that possession exists in forms that are not like this, what we just heard? And it could be evil manifesting through somebody in a way that maybe you don't think about it in a supernatural sense, but is it? Is a mandate that prevents you from doing what's best for your health so that you can't be a functioning member of society and you can't walk into a gym, you can't walk into a restaurant, you can't keep your job unless you inject something experimental in your body? Do you think that's driven by good? Who's it driven by? Okay, it's driven by the powers that be. Who drives them? Who drives them? Ask yourself, where is the top of the ladder? Because I always say, okay, the top, okay, we have American leadership. Okay, we have one world government. Above that, okay, we've got the Klaus Schwabs. Who drives them? Who drives them? Something drives them to be evil. What is it? You can't identify it, and I can't identify it, but I'm not willing to write off that it's not this dark. I'm not willing to write that off. Okay, this was another clip from that interview. It's a fantastic interview. Like I said, I'm bringing him back because I have different questions, and I actually want him to weigh in on what's going on in Hollywood. I want to show him these videos from Sam Smith, and I want him to talk about potentially where we're headed. Has he seen an uptick in people that are getting possessed? Why? Has he seen a change in the way it's manifesting? What does he feel about real life manifestations? Can that be? I want to know what his opinion is about that stuff. But 1 minute, listen to what he says about good versus evil in his words.
St. John Paul II talked about this. Freedom in the true sense of the word doesn't mean we get to do whatever we want. Freedom means that we act in the manner that God created us to live. Mm-hmm. So events of 9/11 and other atrocities, that's not what God intends. It's the result of people's rejection of God and ugliness, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I would say that when people look at it, all the ugliness in the world, probably what we need to change is, rather than looking outward, how do we begin to look inward into our own lives and confront whatever sinfulness is there? Because if we begin doing that, we might find that we have less to say about others.
So this is interesting too. He's talking about good, he's talking about evil, but are we more sinful? Are we more sinful today than we were in the past? Of course. That's why the motivation behind all of what I do here is because I want to return to the good. So do I judge evil? Yeah, I do. Do I judge bad behavior? Yes, I do. I'm not going to condone it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to say, oh, promiscuity, oh, no big deal. It's the new normal. No, it's ugly. It's dark. It's not good for people to be on that path. In the same way that I'm not going to glorify drugs, in the same way that I'm going to tell you that alcohol is not good for you, in the same way I'm going to tell you that the corn is not good for you. This is all very dark stuff that leads you down a very ugly path. Are we more sinful today? Yes. Yes. And as a result, are we more susceptible to not only possession, which people think of as extreme and can't wrap their heads around? I can wrap my head around it because I grew up in Catholic school and this is something that was talked about and discussed. But think about it smaller. Are you more susceptible to being a tool of the system, the very dark, evil, manipulative, out to get you, out to control you, out to rob your freedom system? If you are more sinful, the answer is yes. Because goodness wants you to control your own life. Goodness wants community. We talk about all the time the disintegration of community, right? Wreck the family, break down the family, break down the community, and have Big Daddy government come in and swoop in and help you. Who is Big Daddy government? It's a bunch of bureaucrats. Who runs them? Who runs them? Ask yourself. It's dark. It's not light. It's very, very dark. Who was responsible? Who would be smiling upon the decision to fire a whole bunch of nurses and doctors who had COVID-19, recovered from COVID-19, had natural immunity, understood how this all worked, had worked on the front lines, and then decided not to get an injection because they weren't comfortable with it and wanted them fired? Is that good or evil? It's evil. Who runs the men in the suits making these decisions? It's not God. It's not. If you like the short clip and want to watch the full episode, click here. And if you want to connect with me one-on-one on Connect, you're going to click right here. Let's get to talking.